Welcome to Buckets. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, and we've got NBA title Price Finder Part 2. We did this with Sean Little on Wednesday's episode, and I wanted to run it back and get a different perspective with Brian Fonseca. If you missed it yesterday, you should go check out that one with Sean, because you are going to learn different things about the teams and get different perspectives from yesterday to today. But as a reminder, I completely stole this gimmick from Mina Kimes and the Great Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny. Just like outright ganked it, just completely stole it under her. I am shameless about this. I have credited her on Twitter. She is phenomenal. This concept was great for the NFL, and I want to bring it for not only the NBA, because I think it's easy to do NBA kind of tiers when we look at like how good are the teams, but when we talk about price and value, that's where I start to think this gets really interesting, and especially interesting for bettors. Everything that we talk about today can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all sorts of great stuff in there. With a pro subscription, you're going to get instant alerts on guys like Chris Raybon, who's been red hot this NFL season, Sean Kerner, whose ROI is ridiculous, Brandon Anderson, whose ROI is more ridiculous because he bets insane things that get home, and he bets so many of them, he loses very little and wins a ton, and it makes me insane. You can get all sorts of stuff in the Action Network app. Line movement, price alerts. So Chiefs opened 5.5. It's now hit 6 as I'm recording this on Wednesday. Like, that's a good thing to put in there. 5.5's in that dead zone. 6 is a key number now. So you can now get the Saints here at 2 field goals versus a team that really struggles when they're at home trying to cover more than a field goal. All those kind of things can be found in the Action Network app. If you're a Buckets fan, go to youtube.com/the Action Network. There's a whole tab for podcasts. You can catch every single episode of Buckets on YouTube, and you can just hit play and watch all of our preseason content. If you're like, man, you guys have been doing a lot, but I wasn't really paying attention, you can get caught up on all of that stuff by going to youtube.com/the Action Network. Hit the like and subscribe button. If you're watching right now on YouTube, hey, you hear this in every video that you do. Every single video you watch from any content creator is going to ask you to hit the like button. I get that. I understand that. Your muscles are precious. You choose what you use them on, but I'm asking you to hit that like button and help me out right here. More great content to come this week. On tomorrow's episode, we have the Elite 100 coming out next week. It's the top 100 ranking of the not best, but the most impactful and most valuable players in the NBA. Brandon Anderson, for the first time, helped me out with it. He wanted to help, and so I thought it would be a great opportunity. So we have put together a list. He does not have Naz Reid on it, and so Naz is not on the list, and I'm very mad about it. So you should tune in tomorrow to the debut of Brandon Anderson's show, because I have to ask Brandon why Naz Reid is not on that list. Naz Reid. Okay, let's do this. We're going to do NBA Price Finder with one Brian Fonseca. He's at Brian Fonseca NY on Twitter. You can find him in the Action Network app. He not only covers NBA and WNBA, but also does all of our fighting. What's the name for that for the fighting sports?
You mean boxing?
No, like combat. Because you do like
combat sports, yes. Boxing, some MMA too, some MMA also, but mostly
he's
boxing.
Big boxing, yeah. So he does the combat sports. He also spent the other day like an hour and a half going over who's going to get drafted in the WNBA expansion draft. Like, he was like an old guy listing off old baseball players, just rattling through random fringe WNBA players who are going to get selected for it. But today, he's going to help me out with NBA Price Finder. Brian, you know the rules. I'm going to give you 2 teams. You choose between them. I am, after yesterday when Sean wanted the Mavericks first, I'm going to give you 2 jump spots. So if you don't like either one, you get to jump one team up. You can go ahead and pop that one in, and we'll jump them to the top of the list when we get there. But we're going to start with the defending champions. They are the shortest odds by a very healthy margin. The Boston Celtics are plus 340. That's a 22.7% implied. So just under a quarter of the time they're expected to win the NBA title by the market. The Oklahoma City Thunder are plus 700. Highest win totals in the league for both of these teams. Between the Celtics plus 340 and Thunder plus 700, which one goes first in your NBA title price finder?
Thunder have better value, so we're going to go with the Thunder.
All right, why?
Better value, plus 700, and I think that number is actually going to get worse if this season plays out like we all expect, where Oklahoma City gets maybe the 1 seed, maybe 60 wins potentially, or 55, 56, whatever it takes to get that 1 seed. But we're all sort of projecting that, hey, this is the favorite to get that top spot. And therefore, that number that's at 700 now could drop to like 500 very quickly, and perhaps even lower than that, depending on how dominant they look in the regular season. Whereas the Celtics are going to start without Kristaps Porzingis, and there's a chance that that number actually becomes more valuable if they're not as overwhelming as they were last year to start the year. So I think there could be value on waiting on Boston, so to speak, especially at plus 310. Like, I never want to take a title future at plus 310. I just don't. Right. So Oklahoma City, and, there's an argument to be made. We were talking a little bit about this before we started, but there's an argument to be made that the Western Conference isn't as good as the Eastern Conference this year, especially at the top. So I think that, Boston may face some stiffer tests early on than Oklahoma City. Like, I think these prices may level a bit so that Boston looks more appealing, but we'll have to see how Kristaps Porzingis looks post-injury. But for me, Oklahoma City is first. Oklahoma City is absolutely first.
Okay. I think the interesting question with OKC, because they had almost no handle and their odds were very low despite being the 1 seed last year in the playoffs. And that makes sense because they were the youngest team in the league and they hadn't been there. And so I'm really curious to see is if we get to the season's end and they meet expectation, let's say that they win 55 plus games and they are the 1 seed in the West, right? And Shea's an MVP candidate and everybody's healthy. If we get to that point, is the market going to actually buy in? Like, that's my question with where this goes to, is like, I don't think we can have the answer to that, because that's a market prediction question that factors in too many things. But I am really curious about if we get to the end of the year, because you mentioned like this price will be lower. I agree that like Thunder will be closer to Celtics in April than they are now, and the Celtics number won't have changed much. So by that rubric, you're absolutely right to put Thunder first. Mm-hmm. Putting aside all the momentum behind OKC, which I'm worried about, like as somebody that was like, oh wow, they're going to be awesome and got it on them early. Now I'm like, no, it's too much. I do think it's like an interesting question of what it's going to take for the market to really be like, yes, this team can win a title. That question's really interesting to me, and to watch how that's going to go throughout the season.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, this is a team that we could look up and be like, wait, they're 25-5 after the first 2 months of the season. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't surprise me totally, because you have the star player, the superstar player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You have a young rising star in Chet Holmgren. We think Jalen Williams could actually have all-star potential, right? Like, we think J-Dub could be that good. And then you look at other guys on the roster. It's like, I'm always looking at, if you're a contender, I'm always looking at your role players. The role players matter, because I need to see, all right, who is it that is going to be relied upon to make big plays, to hit big shots, to get big rebounds during playoff time. They got Isaiah Hartenstein, they got Alex Caruso. Those are two big-time acquisitions. And then they already have had guys like Lou Dort on their roster, for example. So, like, I think this team is really good, and I think they could potentially be a wagon in the regular season to where this number is going to drop.
Okay. All right. Boston Celtics plus 340. I have this team higher, and Sean Little just basically Matumbo'd me yesterday. It was like, no, and kept pushing them back down. But I'm gonna try and climb the mountain again with the Phoenix Suns at 30-1 for a team with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, Mike Budenholzer, who you can have questions about, has won a lot of playoff series, has won a lot of regular season games, and, oh, by the way, an NBA title. Should be healthier this season because they were so unhealthy last season. Some of the data is kind of mixed on that, honestly. There's not like a lot of correlation year to year. But they did get Tyus Jones. They got Mason Plumlee. I think their roster's better than last year. Suns 30-1 or Celtics plus 340.
I don't like taking plus 340, but I'm really not that in on the Suns team. I like the Mike Budenholzer higher. I like Tyus Jones a lot, and I'm surprised that, he was had at value. But the trio scares me. Kevin Durant's health, I mean, he's gonna be in year 18, man. Like, it's
not like he's had any major injuries in his career, like he broke his foot and tore his Achilles. I don't know what you're concerned about.
Bradley Beal, I mean, it just didn't look great last year in totality. Devin Booker, obviously, like he was great this summer in the Olympics. He's had some injuries, but you would think he's still in the prime of his career. Like, I'm not going to say Devin Booker's past his prime. That would sound absurd. But Yusuf Nurkic is still your center, right? Like, and maybe Mason Plumlee overtakes him at some point. I don't know if that's going to be the case financially. I don't think that would be advantageous to their situation. Grayson Allen returns as a shooter. Royce O'Neal, like there's good players on this roster. Excuse me. And Mike Budenholzer, like, is a legitimately good coach. Like, he's won Coach of the Year multiple times and deserved it both times, honestly. So I just don't see a world where, like, if I'm taking a title future, am I looking to, I guess this is my question before I get to an answer. Am I looking to just cash out if the number drops? Or do I have to say this team can absolutely win a championship?
It's got to win. Like, it's got to be able to win. If you're just like, I cannot see them winning the championship, then they cannot go there. Like, I do think this is important because, and Brandon and I have kind of talked about this. I think, I think the cash, I don't have data to back this up. Anecdotally, I think the cash out opportunities have gotten substantially worse than they did when we first got legalized betting. I think they were a lot looser with your opportunity to kind of cash out at a profit. They've tightened up on a lot of those. Yeah. I think the hold on those has gotten a lot higher, so you're getting screwed even more by them, to the point where I'm not really even looking for those anymore. It's why I started talking to Jim Turvey and Joe Delera. We started talking about what's called the CLV sandwich, which is num 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 num. If I could eat CLV, this would be great, but I can't. I can't eat CLV. It's got to be able to actually win. And so if you're just like, no, I just can't see the Suns winning the title, then they drop. I get that. Even for the Boston Celtics, who you are notoriously.
Listen. Can I say something about the Celtics though? Like,
yes,
I'll say so. This is why it's the Celtics. I'm gonna say this is why it's the Celtics. One, I'm not sure how well the Suns are going to defend. Like, they have maybe one plus defender in their starting lineup, which is concerning to me. And the plus defender is probably Kevin Durant, maybe Devin Booker if he's, like, taking it seriously. But I mean, on a consistent basis, what are we talking about? With Boston, it's like, what's that?
Look, I have been a huge Yusuf Nurkic critic. I was here in Denver when he left the bench because he wasn't getting playing time, and just left the arena. I loathed his attitude early in his career. Nurk's good now. Like, he's just is. Like, and the numbers back it up. Like, especially what I really found in Portland, I was like, oh, you can't pair Dame with Nurkic. That combo is the problem. And then it really just kind of turns out, no, you just can't pair a drop big with Dame. You just can't, unless it's Brook Lopez. Like, you just can't.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Like,
but
Nurk's,
it doesn't.
They got two plus defenders in the lineup.
Okay, that doesn't make me feel markedly better. Admittedly, at least one of them is your anchor. If we're granting that, but there are some people that would say that even that's generous. But with Boston, it's like, all right, Jason Tatum is probably going to be like, I think he's actually going to have a great season given what just happened in the summer. Like, I'm not somebody who's like Jason Tatum will never be my favorite player in the NBA. But I do think if you look at what he can internalize from the experience of last year, like, I actually think that he may be better than some people think this year. Like, in terms of MVP, in terms of just his production overall, like, I think he could potentially have his best regular season. Didn't get Finals MVP, didn't get Eastern Conference Finals MVP, didn't really, become a core part of Team USA's run. And I think he could have one of those y'all must have forgot seasons that he probably needs at this point, quite frankly. And I think Jaylen Brown is going to be pissed off and motivated and all those things. And I kind of think Joe Mazzulla might be the most underrated coach in the NBA. Like, I think Joe Mazzulla is really good. Like, he's a psycho. I became a fan of his when I saw that he's practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I think, it's very smart. I think everyone should practice in at least one combat sport in their life. They don't have to do it all the time or actually compete, just like, do it for a workout. I've recommended this numerous different times. I'm somebody who boxes and kickboxes. I don't spar because, I talk on camera for a living, so I don't want to be showing up here with black eyes, but I do those things, right?
I like this idea.
You know what I mean?
Like, I beat the shit.
Yeah, I don't really spar like that. But like, I think wrestling, like, these things are good for you, right? And Joe Mazzulla, he takes that into coaching, and I think schematically he's also really smart. He was a college point guard, right? A defensive-minded college point guard. Like, I think those guys usually translate well to coaching. And I think what he was able to do with Boston last year, like, yeah, I give Joe Mazzulla his props, even though, you know, the Celtics aren't my favorite organization, but I think they're a good team, and I think they can win the title again. I don't think the Suns. I just don't see it with Phoenix.
Okay. I'm gonna keep going here because again, I'm gonna tell you it's 30-1.
Yeah,
30
fair.
to 1. 30-1 for the Suns or Knicks 8-1.
Oh, God damn.
Welcome to Price Finder, Brian.
Yeah, it's because the Knicks are getting overvalued now, and it's scary. But I'm gonna still go with them because there's a world where they can come out of the East. They can come out of the East, and Phoenix, if I'm power ranking them amongst other teams in the Western Conference, I don't think they're in my top 5, honestly. If they are, then they're 5th. Whereas the Knicks are, I think they're better than Philadelphia. I don't think it's a layup. I think that's a tough series if everyone's healthy. But you know, and I worry about Tibbs breaking them down and all these different. Like I have a lot of Knicks concerns. But if it's Knicks or Phoenix, I'm going with the Knicks.
Okay. Suns 30-1 or Nuggets 12-1.
Nuggets. Yeah. I like Peyton Watson. I like Julian Strawther. I like Christian Brown less so. But I the gamble on young guys, I think 2/3 of the way at least will pay off. I'm worried about it still. And I'm hoping, I'm gonna knock on wood here, that I hope this isn't the year that Nikola Jokic gets injured, because he's just been a beacon of health in the face of a very injury-prone NBA over the last several years. But listen, Denver's done it. Jokic has done it. Jokic is the best player. Like if the Nuggets and Suns faced off in a playoff series, I would take Denver.
Yeah. If you're wondering, if you're listening and you're wondering, like, why is he doing this again? If the Suns were like, even there's a number out there that's 30-1. If they were just like in the range of a bunch of these teams, and it was like they were 18-1, I wouldn't have them here. I wouldn't be asking. But I just continue to be like, look, you're getting a preseason ticket on a team with 2 top 20 guys with a really good coach at 30-1. But
and
I will
point
keep
guard
go ahead.
I love Tyus Jones. You know,
I will. Oh, you mother! I love Tyus too, though. He's great. I will keep trying to find the value here, because this next one, this has got to get you. This has got to get you. Suns 30-1 or Bucks 14-1.
Oh my God. Okay. So Milwaukee's interesting. They still have Giannis. I don't know what stage of Damian Lillard we're gonna see. Do you, by the way, make a big deal about Giannis and Dame like not meeting up in the offseason?
So the difference here is that I don't make a big deal about it from they don't like each other. That's not true. They wanted to get together. They couldn't make it work. Dame was going to go to Greece to hang out with Giannis, but he had national training for the Olympics. So that wasn't going to work. And then they had set up another time when they're like, oh, we're going to do it this weekend. And then a former teammate got married and Dame had to go to that wedding, and they couldn't get together. Right. And even if you're like a weekend, yeah, no. If Dame and Giannis had just been like, they got in on Friday, worked out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, left Monday, that level of work would have been impactful. I've said these stats on the Bucks season preview pod. I've mentioned it repeatedly. I'll summarize. Dame shot 30% from 3 off Giannis passes last season. Now you could be like, that's random. I don't think it is. When all the rest of Dame's shooting was good, Giannis, who shoots 70% at the rim, shot 53% on 2-pointers off of Dame passes. There's a continuity, like there's a connection problem there that they have to solve, and training camp might get them there. But I do think it would have been good for them to just like get together, work out like, oh, I like the ball here. Oh, no, don't pass it to me there. I like it here. Okay, when they switch, I'm going to do this. Those simple things are helpful for both players to understand one another, and they'll figure that out as the season goes along, especially now in training camp. They can work on that. But that's where I get to on that. That's my feeling on it, which is like, it was meaningful, but it wasn't from like they're not on the same page. Do I think Dame wants to be in Milwaukee? No, I don't. I know he doesn't. He hasn't been shy about it, but he does sound more positive now. He seems to have I made peace is a tough term, but I do think like that's a good description of it. He's made peace, I think, with the fact that this is his best chance to win a title, and he needs to be a little bit more bought in this season than he was last year.
Doc Rivers or Mike Budenholzer?
Mike Budenholzer.
I think I'm probably going to go with Phoenix here.
Yes. Okay. There we go.
So here, just briefly, why I think Chris Middleton might be cooked, and at the very least, he's not going to be his all-star self. And then, like, I love Bobby Portis, but I mean, I don't know how many wins he's worth. And then Brook Lopez. I mean, talking about years, Brook Lopez was in the same draft as Derrick Rose, who just retired. Like. Brook Lopez, this is year, 17 now? So, yeah.
I profiled him as like an all-star in 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to rebound once upon a time.
Yeah.
He didn't even shoot.
He was a great post player once upon a time.
He started shooting threes late in his career, and that was in 2016.
Yeah. So I think, look, here's a good question. You don't even have to like look at the prices. Just if you look at the implied odds, the Bucks are 6.7% to win the NBA title. The Suns are 3.2. Do you believe that the Suns have half the odds, half the percentage chance of the Milwaukee Bucks of winning the NBA title? And my answer would be no, that is not correct. So the Suns have to go above.
Agree. Yeah.
Okay.
And even though both teams have reasons to scare the shit out of me in terms of their actual contendership, but if we're power ranking them, like, yeah, the Sun should be ahead.
Yeah. Bucks 14-1 or the Philadelphia 76ers at 10-1.
I just realized I said Sun because WNBA playoffs doing a lot of Connecticut Suns things. Okay. Sun things. Okay. There you go. I just
need them to lose. I need the Lynx. I need the Lynx bad.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I'm going with the Sixers. I think that's an easy one. I worry about, obviously, health there and Joel Embiid and all those things, but they just have a better team.
Let's do this because we did this yesterday with Sean and we did with Memphis. I want to go over this. All right. Do you want Joel or do you want Giannis?
In a playoff series?
Yes.
I think I probably want Joel. Maybe, I don't know. I'll tell you this. I want Maxey a lot more than Dame.
Okay. So let's say Giannis over Joel, Maxey over Dame.
The gap for Maxey and Dame is wider to me.
And let's say, like, if we're doing health here, because it's the Sixers, if we're going to give the Sixers health, we got to give the Bucks health.
Yes.
Let's say it's Chris versus PG. You want PG?
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. So from that perspective, it makes sense to take the Sixers. I don't know that I like the difference in a 30% jump. It's a 50% jump in value from Bucks to Sixers based off of 6.7% to 9%. It's $4 on the price return. Like that's meaningful to me in this. Mm-hmm. Like the Sixers being 10 flat is, I think, a little overstated. I don't know that the Bucks. This is what I love about doing these odds, and it's why I did the implied. You hear this a lot, honestly, in gambling content, where it's like, "Ooh, that feels high to me," and I'm always like, "Yeah, but what the fuck does that mean?" Like, it feels high because it's a big round number, right? But when you put it in, like half of these, that's why I'm actually like, man, I'm gonna bet some of the NBA title futures because there's such a big, like, the Celtics are the only team with a significant chunk at 22%. When you look at the Suns have a 3% chance of winning the NBA title. Come on now.
Right.
Come on now. Right.
They should eat
but even
more
that,
the
but then
percentage.
It's like, well, everybody's got to fit in, and I get that. Okay. So, all right. So Sixers go over Bucks.
Also, and the other piece of this is I trust their front office to be aggressive mid-season. I'm always thinking about that in futures because we're not betting on the team that is just going to be the same team often. Right. You have to account for which front offices are going to be motivated to do something by February. Philly has to be at the top of the list.
Okay. All right. Bucks 14-1 or Grizzlies at 40-1.
Memphis easily.
Okay, Memphis easily. Give me the case for Memphis.
Jaren Jackson Jr. is hurt, so the number might even get better.
Roaring start.
Yeah. But health is part of it, right? Like you're trusting that they're healthier this year. A lot of people thought that they could have been a 1 seed last year, and obviously that blew up in their face. But because of that blowing up in their face, we got to see Vince Williams Jr., who's also hurt. We got to see Gigi Jackson, who's also hurt, but produce at an NBA level throughout the course of a season. Luke Kennard is still there for like some deep roll shooting, but then you obviously have like John Morant, Marcus Smart, who's going to get a full season now. We'll see what that looks like. Desmond Bain, who is great. Jaren Jackson Jr., if he's healthy. And, Zach Edey is getting Rookie of the Year buzz. And I'm Zach Edey's polarizing. I wasn't sure how to feel about how he'll translate to the pros, but I like where he landed. I like that he's in Memphis. I feel like he's basically in the perfect spot for him. He's not going to have to do the heavy lifting, obviously, that he did at Purdue. Nowhere close to that. Like he can kind of just be big and get rebounds and be a role guy. Like I think that it's gonna be very interesting how he's implemented. But yeah, this one's Memphis in terms of value. Like it's not even close.
All right. Bucks 14-1 or the Minnesota Timberwolves with Julius Randle at 11-1.
I think I trust Minnesota's defensive profile more, but it feels gross.
I like that. So one of the things I like
can't
about
pass, right? I can't just pass.
No, you cannot. You have to bet. It's squirt gun to your head. You have to bet one of these teams. What I really like about this exercise is there's a lot of things I like about it, but one of them is that it does reveal a lot of bias is such a nasty word. Let's say preferences and
preferences. Yes. I like that more.
You as a Heat sympathizer, your feelings about the Milwaukee Bucks are just like shining through the clouds like the bat signal right now with the Bucks now.
Well, I thought Milwaukee preseason last year. I liked Milwaukee to win the title, and that's as soon as it was like, oh, Damian Lillard didn't work out all offseason. I was like, what?
As soon as it was Adrian Griffin with Dame, I was like, oh no. We Brandon and I after the Dame trade were like, we're doubling down. Like they've moved the win total up. We're going back in on this. It takes a lot for me to double down because I'm terrified when the market moves against me. But we were just like, nope. Going the other way here. I think the defensive profile for the Wolves makes sense at 11-1.
And we talked about this on the MVP show that we did. Like, what if Ant actually averages 35 and 5, which with Julius Randle, that may be more challenging, but
the defense is an X factor here.
Yeah,
but I will ask you. Well, we should do this exercise. Do you want Giannis Antetokounmpo or Anthony Edwards?
I think I still want Giannis for now.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You should. This should not be a question.
All
right. Do you want Dame, or I guess at this point it's Rudy Gobert?
Ugh. God.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just take the Timberwolves top 7 over the Bucks top 7 and be done
fine.
with it?
I'm just doing the exercise. It's fine. Look. I want Chris Finch a lot more than I want Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
It's a huge
that's
gap.
fair.
Okay.
But the Timberwolves top 7 is legitimately like good and talented. Okay. And Julius Randle, Naz Reid, DiVincenzo's there now, Gobert, Mike Conley, Jaden McDaniels. Like that's legit.
Okay. Jaden McDaniels, who by the way is also not in the Elite 100 for Brandon Anderson, which I'm again very mad about. Bucks 14-1 or the Dallas Mavericks at 11-1.
Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I just put the Bucks at 30, or are we?
They're not going to be 30.
Okay. But look, I like the Mavericks here. I said to Sean yesterday, I think they're a stronger regular season team than playoff squad. But I don't mind it just from the perspective of there is a very good chance. I'm looking for teams that are going to be we said wagon earlier. Which teams are going to look like an absolute wagon when we get to January?
Yeah.
And I think Thunder, Suns, Mavericks are the top 3 in the West that I think we could get to January and be like, they're just a wagon, man. Like
possibly Memphis.
Loaded.
Possibly
yeah,
Memphis.
Yeah, and Memphis. I think Memphis is on that list too. Yeah. And Memphis at 40-1 is a really good price.
Dallas gets a full season of PJ and Daniel Gafford now. I think that's pretty significant. And Derek Lively year too.
If Dallas had, let's say PJ Washington didn't shoot like Rashard Lewis and like shot like he should, and the Thunder got past them, then this number would be closer to Grizzlies 40-1. We'd probably be at 20-1, and I would like Mavericks would be way higher on mine, like way higher. But because they made the finals, they're 11-1, which I do think is meaningful for like I don't know that price is great. It's an 8% chance of winning the title. It's probably a little low because like I would put them at 10%. But they are a little overvalued because of the playoff run last year, but undervalued more because I think the offseason additions make them so much better.
Can I
Okay,
move
so
Dallas and Memphis above Phoenix? I can't do that, right?
you could I mean I gave you the opportunity to move one of them up and you elected not to, so you're stuck with this. So I gave you the
keep it
opportunity.
here for now. It's fine.
You got to pay attention to the rules, Brian Fonseca. Okay, this is for the 10th spot. Milwaukee Bucks 14-1 or the Cleveland Cavaliers 60-1.
Cleveland.
60-1. Cleveland. Yeah. Okay.
You know, I love Kenny Atkinson, so I think Donovan Mitchell, like he's not going to win MVP, but I took a shot at it anyway. It's like 200-1 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I bet that every year. I always bet
he might. I think legitimately he's gonna. I think Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley are gonna have career years. Jared Allen is with the coach who has believed in him the most in his career. Karis LeVert will probably be maximizing his role. Max Strus surprised me last year. I think a lot of people think that he's a 3-point specialist, and I understand that he looks like that, but he's not a 3-point specialist. But he was able to add to his game last year from a rebound and playmaking perspective that I think made him a viable starter. And yes, he can hit threes, but for his career, it's like 36%. He's not a 3-point specialist. He's got a different game than that. And Darius Garland, ... We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I bet this yesterday. It's in the Action app, CLV sandwich, but you know I do think it's an absurd number. It's just so far outside of the boundary. There's 160-1 out there. You can find it in the Action Network app to find the right book. So yeah, 60-1 is just preposterous for the Cavaliers to me, and they're the team in the East that I do think we could get to January and be like they're a wagon. The only thing is if you're listening to this and you're like I don't believe in Cleveland right now, okay, you're still going to get a great price for them in January because if they're a wagon, you're going to have half the season a great price because no one's going to think they can win the title. Like it does not matter what Cleveland does. It does not matter. They could be the 1 seed and there's like it'll be like OKC last year where like hey, the Cleveland Cavaliers have a 4-game lead for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and the Boston Celtics are favored to win the Eastern Conference, and then the Sixers and the Knicks, and then the Cavaliers. Like, you'd still get a great price on them with more info. You can wait, but for right now, 60 is still a ridiculous price. All right, as we continue the Milwaukee Bucks descension into hell, I'm going to give you this one. This one, I was like, I was thinking when the Bucks started sliding, I was like, oh no, because if he gets here, I think I know where he's going to go.
Oh, shit.
Bucks 14-1 or the Indianapolis Pacers at 66-1.
You know what? I'll take the Bucks here.
Okay. All right. This is where the madness ends. Okay.
Yeah. Listen, I made the case for Rick Carlisle Coach of the Year. I like this Pacers roster. Making the Eastern Conference Finals, even under those circumstances, like it wasn't easy, but they did have some injury luck in their favor. I do like the Pacers though, but the defensive ceiling is higher with the Bucks. It just is. And I think the Pacers actually could be one of these regular season wagon teams, but I think their defense is just not going to be great.
I did look this up. In the last 13 seasons, since 2011, not counting the COVID season, I looked at bottom 10 defensive teams and their average defensive rank the year after. My question was, if you're a really awful defense, what happens the year after? And the average rank the following season is 19.2. The average, if you're bottom 5 defense, is 19.7. What we kind of see from that, and like it's just outside of the bottom 20, but we do see a little bit here of defense is not that sticky. It's not as sticky as we kind of think of it. There's a few teams that tend to be like top 5 every year for a stretchy seasons, but it's not as sticky as we think of it on the good or bad end. So like there is a very good possibility here that the Pacers wind up 18th. And if the offense is as good as last year, then this team it's an over team. They're a division contender. etc. But I agree that based off of like where we're at right now, I think it's hard to justify them over the Bucks to win the title.
I can't keep
Um,
kicking Giannis down. I
me
can't.
either.
I can't keep kicking Giannis and Dame down. Full
Yeah.
look it's, to the Pacers. Like full season of Pascal Siakam. That's not small.
Yep.
And,
And
and
preseason.
Miles Turner. Miles Turner should have a better time anchoring that defense this year.
Warriors 45-1 or Pacers 66-1.
Uh, I guess I'll go with the Warriors.
Okay.
I don't feel great about it though.
Warriors are going to be divisive as we get closer to the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer them not be here in terms of the ranking, but I mean, look, Steph still there. I actually really like the Buddy Hield acquisition. I didn't like how he performed in the playoffs, but I think he'll work. And they still have Jonathan Kuminga, who, maybe he's an all-star someday. There were spots where he looked really good last year, but we'll see about the rest.
Okay. Pacers 66-1 or Lakers 40-1.
Pacers, actually. Okay. Yeah.
So what's interesting here is Warriors were 45-1, Lakers were 40-1, and you thought the value was better on Warriors over Pacers, but Pacers over Lakers. So like it kind of tells you about like either the Lakers are overvalued here or the Warriors are a little undervalued or both.
No, I think it's more the Lakers are overvalued here. They're just going to be a fucking sideshow this year, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not like all due respect to JJ Redick, but like I don't think they're going to win a title this year.
Right. Okay. Well, let's see how far you want to test that because we got Lakers 40-1 or Heat 50-1.
Heat 50-1.
All right. The sympathizer comes through. All right.
I hope people saw the reactions as that was because I kind of knew you were gonna go Heat. I actually thought you were gonna go Heat when the Bucks were sliding to really test where I was gonna be with that.
I should have moved them up. I don't know. Heat 50-1. Like, look, these are all once we get into this range, you're really splitting hairs, especially on the implieds. The Heat were the number 1 seed 2 seasons ago, and the Heat haven't lost their top 3 players, top 4. Duncan's better now. Bam's better now. The rest of the roster has suffered attrition, right? Like they lost Gabe and they lost Strus and then they lost Caleb. And the idea is like those guys weren't important, which is reasonable because all the Heat guys struggle when they leave Miami. And they've got these other young guys that fill in the gaps, like Jaime and Jovic is really good in the advanced metrics. I don't understand because I never see him do anything. I go back and forth between I should not be surprised if the Heat are really good again and how in the hell are the Heat going to be really good again? I've already bet them to miss the playoffs. Like the number was too good, so I bet them to miss the playoffs. But it's like they're either going to miss the playoffs or they're going to be like a top 4 seed, and I just don't know. Right. It could be either one, and that's fine. But I think it's really tough to figure it out. Like, do you think? I'll ask you this: like, do you think that you don't see any way the Lakers won the title? Is there any way you see the Heat winning the title?
Probably not. I mean,
probably not. Definitely, sir.
I mean, like a lot would have to break in their favor. The only reason I can't it's a 1% chance, and the only reason it's not a 0% chance is because that core for a stretch won the most playoff games in the NBA for 4 years. And, obviously that streak has since evaporated because of what the Celtics did last year. It is now them. But look, I have no preseason action on this team. I have no idea what's going to happen. I like Terry Rozier. I like the shooting ability that Tyler Hero has, but I don't think they can function as a starting backcourt for an entire season. We'll see. Maybe they prove us wrong, which they've done before. Jimmy Butler, last year of his contract. Year, what is this, 14 now, 35 years old, has taken a lot of contact throughout the course of his career, got hurt last year. People think he's going to have an FU season. We'll see. I like Nikola Jovic and Jaime Jaquez a lot. They should take a step. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm probably the biggest Bam guy here. It's either me or you. But and he'll shoot threes this year. I think he's going to have a great year, but, it's just a lot. But Eric Spoelstra, Duncan Robinson also, who you mentioned, but Eric Spoelstra is still the best coach in the league, I think, and will he has some talent to work with, and I do think that they're sneaky, deep, but I don't think they're going to be like a tier 1 Eastern Conference team.
Right. All right, Lakers 40-1 or the New Orleans Pelicans 55-1.
Pelicans.
Okay. Look, I love the Pels. I think there's a huge upside here. I want to ask you this. If there is a winner go home series, and whether it's play in or playoff, game 6 or game 7, and it's the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Los Angeles Lakers, where is your money?
Pelicans.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like
all right.
I know LeBron babied Zion before, but we're assuming health, right? This is the scary part of this, but I don't know how DeJounte Murray is going to work there, and Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. Like, it can get clunky, but I think that organization is going to figure out that situation before we get to the trade deadline. They kind of have to.
Here's the thing. I think the Pelicans are a better team than the Lakers, but if you're asking me who can win 4 playoff series, I don't know how you don't say the Lakers.
Well, neither of them are.
But here's the thing. This same Lakers team with a worse coach, theoretically, I don't really know, this won 2 series and got to the conference finals. Like, the Pelicans have a serious gap in their ability to be serious. Like, they have a real problem with that, where it's like they have talent and they have defense and there's all these good things, and then they get into these like pressure situations where the leverage is increased and they just look so out of their element.
I mean, here's the
They're the Miami Dolphins.
Here, I would argue somebody else is probably the Miami Dolphins, but I mean, the counter to that would be: is D'Angelo Russell going to have another amazing shooting season? Amazing, maybe too strong of a word, but you get what I'm saying. Like, he shot.
I get it.
He was.
I get it.
Really good.
If we're doing, I get it. If we're doing talent, I get it. I just,
right.
I am
LeBron. I get that LeBron is LeBron, but this is year 20 fucking 2. He's going to be 40. 4-0. That shit is going to start with a 4 in a few months. And also, they had great health luck with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Now, look, I don't want to advocate for health in a conversation that involves Zion Williamson and also DeJounte Murray. But again, we're hair splitting. And also, listen, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, I think matter in a pretty significant way. Like, I think those 2 guys are better than, like, give me them 2 over any of the role players the Lakers have. Easily.
I get it. Look, I get it from if we're like, I did this game, right? We did the game with the Sixers and all these teams. I get it. Because it's like, do you want LeBron or Zion? Well, I want LeBron. Okay. Do you want Anthony Davis or do you want Brandon Ingram? I want Anthony Davis. Do you want Austin Reeves or Trey Murphy? I want Trey Murphy. Do you want D'Angelo Russell or I guess
Herb Jones?
Or Herb Jones? I want Herb Jones. Like, on the way down, all the way down, I want the Pelicans the rest of the way, all the way down.
Yeah.
I just don't know in a playoff series if it matters beyond that first answer.
Yeah. Willie Green too. Willie Green too. Like, I would favor. I mean, we don't know about JJ Redick yet, but
here's my Willie Green take. Yeah. Awesome defensive coach. The offense and game management stuff leaves a lot to be desired, and I don't know. Their inconsistency is concerning to me. They have games where they are totally unprepared, and that bothers me. And including several games versus the Lakers. They got absolutely daddied in the play-in tournament.
Yes, they did.
They got daddied in the last game of the season. They got daddied in the play-in tournament. It's a problem.
My concern also with the Pelicans is who's starting at center this year?
Is it Yves or Eves? I forget.
I think it's Eves. That name is usually pronounced Eves. Is it going to be him? First round pick from
I think it's going to be JRE. I think it's going to be Jeremiah Robinson Earl.
Okay, yeah.
And I actually like that. Like, I like the JRE lineup. I think that could work.
Daniel Tice is on the roster.
Oh, it might be
Also,
Tice. It's probably gonna be Tice.
there's also him. Look, I love Jose Alvarado, and
Yep.
for a weird reason, Javante Green also. Like I love their depth.
Yeah.
We're splitting hairs here. Like this is not by like a mile, even though I did answer it pretty quickly.
But
But
that's the
still,
point. That's the point of the exercise,
yes,
right? Is if somebody's looking for a long shot, if somebody's like, I want to put like I want to bet somebody really long to win the NBA title. I don't know why you would, but because this league is top heavy. But if you were like looking for the value, this is the
right.
question. All right,
It's Pels
late.
50. It's Pels what 55-1 versus Lakers 40-1. Like to
Yes.
me, yeah, it's a value
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, you're getting 15 bucks. You're getting 15 bucks.
Yeah,
Kings 75-1 or Lakers 40-1.
I'll go Lakers here.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I
that was
actually
not
been
an easy one. That was not an easy one. I
yeah,
know
I've been
you're in
thinking
on the
about.
Kings this year.
I've been thinking I'm getting there just because like the vibes continue to be like,
Yeah.
you know, they're the exact kind of team that Brandon's gonna text me in December and be like, really? Are we doing the Kings thing? And I'm like, yes, Kings vibes, light the beam.
Are they the
A
Dolphins of the NBA? Miami Dolphins of the NBA
little
this year?
bit, a little bit. I think that's a little. I think it's a little insulting uh, to McDaniels, and I think it's a little insulting to Tua. Honestly, a little bit,
Mm.
and it's definitely insulting to. Well, I don't know. Tyreek and Fox is like a really good comp.
You
That's
know,
really
like speed for speed. I don't know
yeah,
who's their Demontis Sabonis. I have no idea, but
yeah.
I think look, the Kings are interesting, but I just the DeMar DeRozan fit. I don't know how that's going to play out. I like DeMar DeRozan. I'm generally pro DeMar DeRozan because, like, real hoopers stand up. But at the same time, I'm not sure it's gonna be like a seamless fit there. But listen, splitting hairs again, but it's just like De'Aaron Fox, Keon Ellis, who I really like, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, DeMontis Sabonis. I just want to see it. Also, they have Jordan McLaughlin on this team. I did not. That was one that I totally forgot about.
Yep.
Interviewed him once at Nets Media Day. He was cool. So there's that.
Yeah. I've heard great things about him. Yeah, everybody we're talking about here is less than 2% implied, but this is the exercise. King 75-1 or Magic 65-1.
Magic.
Okay, I like it.
I will steal a quote from my boy Gerard Hector from True Hoop, where he says about the Orlando Magic last year that they have a elite defense and a third grade offense. So hopefully their offense this year is more advanced than that.
Yeah.
And I love the KCP addition.
Yeah.
We'll see if they end up needing the true quote unquote floor general, but they're young, they're ascending. I would put them even higher than this.
Wendell Carter Jr. for CJ McCollum and Filler.
Yes. Sign both teams up, honestly.
Okay, I want to ask this. Magic, I get to do this because I'm in charge. Magic 65-1 or Lakers 40-1.
I think the Magic have a cleaner path in the Eastern Conference to potentially
I'm moving them up.
Have a better seating. Yeah, I'll go Magic there.
We'll go Pels, Magic.
It feels gross, but this is where the Western Conference get really muddied. The East does too, but I think the Magic, because of their defense, they can get like a top 4 or 5 seed. Right. They got a 5 seed last year. So.
Yeah, Pels, Magic, Lakers, Kings is that order. Okay, we're going back down to the Kings. Kings 75-1. Or the San Antonio Spurs 150-1.
Kings.
Okay.
Not yet, right. San Antonio. Not yet.
Finally, somebody in this company that is not getting swallowed up by the Wemby hype. Thank you. Like I've said I don't know how to project Wemby. He's gonna be one of the most dominant players in the league. But you can listen to it on the Elite 100 episode. But holy God, where Brandon has Victor. I mean, it's just out of control. It's out of control. So yeah, there's no way if you told me that the Kings got a 1 seed and everybody else fell apart in the West and the Kings made the finals, and then it's just like you got to figure out a way to get past whoever in 4 out of 7, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, if you told me the Spurs got through the Western Conference gauntlet, because they're not going to be there's no chance that there's no chance that the Spurs finish. Well, there's not no chance. It's very unlikely that the Spurs finish higher than the Kings. It's very unlikely. And so it's just like this, the Kings are going to have a better path. They have better players. They have more experience. I just don't know. Yeah. Okay.
There's a real pathway to the Kings getting a top 4 seed. I don't see that for the Spurs.
Yeah. All right. So Spurs 150-1 or Rockets 150-1. They have same odds.
Ugh, this feels gross. Rockets, though. I'll go with the Rockets.
Okay. Here's the dividing line for real grossness. Spurs 150 to 1 or Clippers 125 to 1.
Spurs.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna let you finish.
Yeah. Man, Sean, I was like, well, there's like a certain level to where the Clippers won't get to. And then Sean just kept being like, nope, down, nope, down, nope,
Honestly.
down. Clippers tumbled.
I hated them last year when they were good.
I can't figure out if it's gone too far, and now the Clippers are a little like we're probably at the point where I'm going to be like, okay, they're a little underrated. I don't want to bet them, but they're a little underrated in all these markets.
They can make the play.
Like Kawhi's not going to be available, okay, but he might come back at some point. Harden says he's going to be aggressive. Like that's the real question here is like, do you believe that just like Harden, Zubac, and some shooters can gamify their way to 44 wins and a shot at something?
You won't get me to say it because James Harden is one of my least favorite players of all time to watch.
Right. So I know, like I've actually written about James more than I've written about any other player.
That's me with Jimmy Butler.
It's not like a love thing. It's just that I happen to be writing a lot about MVP when he was in those conversations. So like I just know Harden. So like I know all the good and bad things about Harden's game. And I think that's one of the things I think is really key though, is like I know what he looked like when he was him, and he is not that guy anymore. Right. Even if it's like he has some really good numbers, I know, but it's he's just producing the numbers because of what he knows how to do. All right.
Also, year 16 of his career this year.
Okay. 125 to 1 for the Clippers, or 1,000 to 1 for the Toronto Raptors.
Okay, we'll go with the Clippers here. Jesus Christ.
That's the bar. Like this is where it drops off a cliff, and then we'll go real quick through these last ones. Raptors 1,000 to 1 or Hawks 60 to 1.
Jim Turvey is gonna absolutely blow my head off, but I'll go with the Raptors here. Scotty Barnes, you're in some trouble, bro. But you know, we'll overlook that because I do like the talent on this team. But Scotty Barnes looks like he has some things to clean up. You can Twitter search that.
Hawks 600 to 1 or Bulls 1,000 to 1.
Oh God damn it!
This is what's fun about the end of this list. It's great. You got to bet one. You got to bet one, Brian.
I got to do Trae Young or Zach LaVine. Give me the Hawks.
Okay, that's the line. I love finding the line. It's like this is where I will not. This is where I have to draw the line.
I think Sean Little would actually blow my head off if I picked the Bulls there.
He was lower, dude. He was lower. Sean had the Bulls 4th lowest in Price Finder.
I might get there too. We'll see.
It was Bulls and then Pistons, and I tried to be like, I don't know, the Pistons. He's like, no.
Right.
So, all right, Bulls 1,000 to 1 or Blazers 1,000 to 1.
I can't believe I'm going to say the Blazers, but I'm going to say the Blazers.
You guys are both going in on the Bulls. Oh, okay.
The Blazers might not be the worst team in the NBA this year. That's the most positive thing I can say about them.
I will tell you right now that if they are not at least the second worst team, that somebody's getting fired. Someone's getting fired if they're not the second worst team.
Listen, and that team is liable to sell off a lot of parts. And I'm lower on Scoot than I was pre-draft. I think most people are. So we'll see. Yeah.
All right, Bulls 1,000 to 1 or Jazz 1,000 to 1.
Jazz.
Okay.
Easily.
All right.
Jazz over the Blazers too. Not even close.
All right, we'll move the Jazz up over the Blazers. Okay.
Yeah, Jazz have a good coach.
Oh,
legit star. Like,
okay.
Come on.
I should have put this one higher for you. I apologize. This is my mistake. Let's just go through these teams and see if we get them. Hornets or Bulls?
Hornets, easily.
Hornets or Blazers?
Hornets.
Hornets or Jazz?
I'll still go with the Hornets, but that one's tough.
Okay, Hornets or Hawks? 600 to 1 versus 1,000 to 1.
Hornets.
Okay. Hornets or Raptors? 1,000 to 1.
Hornets.
Okay, here's the big one. This is the big one, Brian. Hornets 1,000 to 1 or Clippers 125 to 1.
Clippers.
That's the bar. Okay. Clippers. That makes sense.
Outlined
Clippers
a perfectly
like the next tier. Clippers is the bar between like okay, they do have NBA superstars and have like the structure of a playoff team, made the playoffs last year, and like bad teams.
You gave me a perfectly reasonable scenario as to how they can get to 44 and 38. I can give you one with Charlotte, but the one with the Clippers is more attainable, where I think Charlotte, you're looking to make the play in, which is last year, 36 wins in the East got you to play in.
Okay. We're going to continue
Hornets,
with the
by
Bulls.
the way, to win 35 or more games, it's like plus 270 or something like that. So I would look at that.
Bulls 1,000-1 or Pistons 1,000-1.
Pistons.
Okay. All right. You've outdone Sean. Good job. Bulls 1,000-1 or Wizards 1,000-1.
Bulls.
Okay. Again, that's the bar. That's what I love about this game.
I think the Wizards could be fun in 2 years, but not now.
You're like, that's the thing, is like this is where you get to, is you're like, oh no, like they're, oh definitely, and then you get to the Wizards and you're like, oh, it's got to be like the Bulls. Right. The Wizards. Way better. It's great. Such a good game. All right, final one. The real. You have to bet one of these teams to win the NBA title, Brian Fonseca. The Washington Wizards or the Brooklyn Nets.
Nets.
Okay. The Nets go above the Wizards in both of our NBA price finders.
Yes.
Good stuff.
I actually really like Fernandez. So
here are the top 10 teams on Brian's price finder. Thunder plus 700, Celtics plus 340, Knicks plus 800, Nuggets plus 1200, Suns finally at 30-1, Sixers plus 1000, Grizzlies 40-1, Wolves plus 1100, Mavericks plus 1100, and the Cavaliers 60-1. The Milwaukee Bucks are not in Brian's top 10. That you're playing NBA.
I wish I could move Dallas to like 4 or 3. I'm not even.
Yeah, Sean requested the movement. That was 1 on their board, on his board.
I want Dallas to move up, and I want Cleveland to move up.
Okay. Well, next time that we do this, you can do this. We're going to do it again during the season. We're going to play again. Thank you for playing NBA Price Finder. Thanks for listening to Buckets. Appreciate you guys being with us. David Payne's our producer. Tito Bonach is our video producer. Appreciate you guys getting that. This is covered on all platforms. Check out youtube.com/The Action Network. Leave us a 5-star review. Feedback is a gift, as Chad Millman says. Check out the Action Network podcast. Check out the Big Bets on Campus YouTube page. Download the Action Network app. Find Brian on Twitter at Brian Fonseca NY. We'll see you guys again next time. Till then, let's get buckets.